Hello, hello. Good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are in the country. On behalf of the Generations Brands team and the Pure UVC team, I'd like to welcome you to our free webinar series, Your Facilities Post Pandemic. Today's topic is the post pandemic design of the American office space. On behalf of both Generations Brands and Pure UVC, we wish that you all were staying safe, healthy, and socially distant. I know this is a really disruptive time right now, and I acknowledge the fact that I may be one of the only faces you see outside of all the people who are living in your home right now. So I acknowledge that reality, and I really appreciate that you're here with us today. A bit about me: my name is Angela Tsai, and I run a variety of marketing and outreach initiatives for Generations Brands. We are an engineering focused design build firm. We focus on UVC disinfection systems, audiovisual, theatrical, and LED lighting upgrades. We've been in business for over 25 years. We've been servicing schools and other high traffic facilities. I also am on faculty at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. Now, through NJPAC, I teach theater to students all over the Newark public school system. And last but certainly not least, I am a very concerned and active parent in my small community of Mountain Lakes, New Jersey. It is in my school district that I sit on the boards of the Educational Foundation as well as the Home and School Association. Now, I'd like to introduce you as well to my colleague. This is Dan Lipton. Now, Dan is the Director of Development for Pure UVC. He runs their marketing and educational initiatives as well as internal systems. And he has a solid basis of electrical engineering with a degree from Rutgers University. Now, Dan and I actually used to see each other before this pandemic. We used to see each other about 5 days a week. His office and his desk was probably about 40 feet from where I sat. So during the days, I could pop in real quick to his office, ask him a quick question. Sometimes we'd have joint marketing meetings in our showroom, and that's connected to our warehouse. Sometimes we'd see each other in the break room. Um, Now, Dan and I are mere Trello notes to each other. Sometimes we hear our voices on the phone, and of course, we Zoom, like we all Zoom, everyday Zoom. Um, we are fortunate to be able to work from home. And I get that, the strife the economy is in. I realize how lucky some of us are to still be able to work and to work from home. But, you know, going forward, I know that in order to keep collaborating and to keep working and to keep business going, this cannot be business as usual. I mean, I'm coming to you basically from the marketing offices of Generations Brands. This is also my bedroom. At around 5:30 today, it will turn into the fitness center. During the day, it also serves as the break room as well as a coffee bar. So really, there needs to be a light at the end of the tunnel, right? There needs to be a reopening and a return to business as new usual. Now, in order to reopen successfully, our buildings and facilities have to be ready to receive us. But right now, we have urgent health and safety concerns for our buildings and our workplaces that we've never had before. So here we're looking at a Gallup poll. This Gallup poll was published about 3 weeks ago, and it was on the responsible workplace reopening. And what it concluded is this: as some US states begin reopening businesses to more on site work, the ability to estimate the readiness of employees from a functional and emotional perspective is paramount. Now, what does this mean? This means, in other words, the challenge that we are facing as executives, as administrators, as directors of operations, as facilities managers. Our challenge is, how do we make employees feel safe and healthy while maintaining productivity? Now, as we make our way towards reopening our workspaces, and currently all 50 states in the US are in some phase of reopening, here is what we know for sure. This is what we know. We know that humans are social creatures, that offices are not going away. Now, we are all not the Twitters and Salesforces of the world. These tech giants have already told their employees that they can keep working from home forever if they wanted to. Now, I am guessing that if you're on this webinar, you are looking to reopen your office space. If you're on this webinar, you are perhaps an essential worker, or you produce some goods or services that require a physical workspace, that require face to face interpersonal collaboration with each other. So, what else do we know? We know transitions back to the office space will be gradual and in phases. And this is in order to make your employees feel comfortable. Now, what else do we know? We know by virtue of seeing how we've been doing for the past 2, 3 months, is that remote working will be more acceptable, even on a part time basis. Work that can be done from a solitary desk likely can be done remotely. That being said, we're looking at our physical workspaces now. Now, our physical workspaces become a place that we specifically socialize and connect with each other. So, this is leading to increased focus on our social spaces, on our amenities, and of course, conference rooms. Lastly, workplaces will follow health guidelines that are put in place by your local and state officials. Now, in order to reopen our workplace, we've got to approach it with an integrated view of all that goes into running a workplace, as I'm sure you all are dealing with. We're going to look at policies, we're going to look at operations, and of course, personal responsibility on behalf of the executives and the managers, as well as the employees and staff. And of course, if you're running a school, students. Now, let's take a look at the physical setup of the American workplace. Now, back in the 80s and early 90s, we had high walled cubicles, and those gave way to these open collaborative workspaces. In the past decade, we've actually seen an amalgamation of those two types. We see right now that the modern American workspace looks a little something like this. We've got gathering spaces for communal interaction, such as lounges. We also have small private offices, so that that can be used for smaller private meetings. We've also got larger working spaces in order to physically collaborate with larger groups. Basically, what we're seeing right now is that American design in the office space really focuses on the individual moods of the employees and of the students, right? So that we have a good balance between being in a really collaborative social environment, as well as having these sort of personal solitary spaces to go and do work in. Basically, running a business or organization, you know that design of your physical space will greatly affect your employees or your students' mental health and their well-being. So, how do we tackle social distancing while we work together within an office? First thing we're going to look at is office density. Now, office density works as a function of both layout, the physical layout of your space, as well as scheduling. So, controlling the amount of people who are occupying your building or your facility within a certain time period. We'll look at wider corridors and pathways. So, that will help enforce social distancing when people are trying to pass each other going opposite ways, or one person trying to pass one another. That will also again reinforce that ability to be as distant as possible from each other. Secondly, we've got a defined traffic pattern within your office space. You're essentially going to see more of a choreographed flow of activity throughout your space. Examples are designating areas to be one way in terms of foot traffic. Cushman and Wakefield, which is the global real estate services firm, came out with what they call the 6 foot office plan. And there, if you look them up, they have designated floor signs emanating from, for instance, your office, your desk space, where it designates how much is 2 feet away from you, 3 feet away, and of course 6 feet away. They also have designated areas of one-way traffic. You know, maybe you instate a circular counterclockwise flow around your office. So this is something that larger office spaces are definitely looking at and hopefully able to implement. We're also looking at wider socially distant workspaces. Within the last decade to 15 years, we've seen something in the workspaces called benching. Now, benching means having your desk either butt up or be right next to another coworker's desk. That creates this visual feeling of being unified. However, you having your own desk will also give you the chance to kind of take over your own area and your own property. And that way you're functional, you're flexible, but you're also able to collaborate. So, what we're seeing with something called benching is that once, decades ago, employees had on average about 250 square feet of space to themselves in their workspace. Now, one employee gets on average about 100 square feet of space. So, with that being said, with this wider socially distant workstations, we may have every other workstation occupied in order to keep that socially distance. Um, we also will see a lot of scheduling changes. So perhaps employees will come in staggered shifts. That will also reduce the office density. There's going to be a lower maximum occupancy. Perhaps your A team comes in the mornings, and then your B team comes in the afternoons, and then they flip flop for the next day. You're going to see a lot of figuring out office density scheduling. Now, what else are we going to see in the office space as far as your physical materials in front of you? You're going to probably have a lot of touchless environments. So, elevators, if you work in an elevator building, you're going to see more movement towards voice activation or opening, closing the doors, obviously touching those buttons. You're going to have automatic sensors for entryways as well as foot levers or bathroom doors, which, of course, in any building is the most high touch, problematic spot that you're trying to stop the spread of pathogens. You're going to see some movement for construction materials towards antimicrobial materials. So, copper, an element known for its anti germicidal properties, uh, will be used more on their fixtures, on knobs, throughout your office space. You'll find smoother materials that don't harbor germs. You'll see less fabrics and less porous textures that can actually harbor more germs. You're going to see more durable construction materials that can withstand repeated cleanings and disinfectings. Um, that's going to be wood, that's going to be stainless steel. So, we talk about collaborative work environments, and coming right back in upon reopening, you are likely going to still limit your group gatherings. So, Zoom won't be going away anytime very soon. In fact, the larger group gatherings will still be video based. Again, it's all a phase in process. We're going to also see more isolation techniques within the office space. So, those high walled cubicles that we saw so much of back in the 80s and early 90s, a lot of that may be coming back into play as we're trying to figure out how to isolate yourself from your next door colleague or neighbor. You're going to see more private office spaces and personally assigned spaces. In the past 10 years, there was a trend in the workspace is that some workers did not actually have an assigned workspace. They would be able to float around and sit in the lounge or sit in the break area or sit in the food or cafeteria area in order to do work and have meetings. So here you're going to actually see more enforced designated meeting spaces and private offices. And of course, the portability and the easy implementation of things like sneeze guards and barriers in between your colleagues we'll be seeing more of. And of course, we're going to see a little bit of a change in personnel because this is a lot. Let's face it. You are going to have somebody either specifically in charge of office safety and office health, or someone is going to be taking on some added responsibilities to make sure that everybody is keeping up their end of their personal responsibility for hygiene and and just being responsible and socially distant within that office space. Now, back to that Gallup poll. That Gallup poll showed that 7 out of 10 workers fear returning to work. It further went on to find out that employees will want to know how is cleaning occurring and how often within the office. And in order to allay a lot of their fears, they also want to know what protective technology is being implemented within your office space. So, fortunately, with technology, we can make some parts of these safety measures more convenient and more comprehensive. So, here we've got some automated disinfection systems. If we can adapt technology like this, we won't have to rely on those dangerous chemicals that that come into play, as always, as we know right now, to be the most common way to disinfect. We also don't have to depend on the time intensive and labor intensive manual cleaning. So here we see UVC lighting systems as well as air filtration systems. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about ultraviolet lighting. Ultraviolet lighting has actually been around for a long time. It is not a new technology. A little bit of a trivia fact here is the first application of UV lighting for disinfection purposes was in Marseille, France. Now, that was over 100 years ago in 1909, and that was for water treatment. If you look around now today, at least in this country, you're going to see applications in hospitals, in medical facilities, food processing plants, factories, science labs. If you look at the left top photo on my screen, you're going to see a portable UV unit, and that is disinfecting a public transit bus. Now, about 2 weeks ago, the MTA in New York City announced that they were going to be using ultraviolet systems to disinfect their subway cars. And if you've ever been in one of those subway cars, you will wonder what took them so long. If you look at the bottom left photo on my screen, you're going to see an airplane lavatory. Now, if you've ever been in one of these, you know what a challenge it is to avoid touching or brushing up against something in there that you didn't mean to touch or brush up against. Boeing has announced, actually, a few years ago, they announced that they would be prototyping UV systems to automatically disinfect their lavatories. So, right now, they are testing a fleet of their aircrafts with this system. Some other uses, Hyundai Motor Group has also announced within the past month that they are prototyping an interior cabin light that would automatically disinfect while nobody was inside the vehicle. So we are seeing a lot of applications that are being embraced, UV applications that are being embraced by these global companies. For instance, Whole Foods and Amazon are also now prototyping UV systems within their warehouses and within their stores to be able to disinfect up and down the aisles all of their materials and all of their merchandise. There are a lot of benefits of utilizing UVC light. And I'm going to put in a plug for our whole webinar series. Every Thursday, we do an intro to UVC and the science behind why it works so well in stopping the spread of pathogens. And so I may go over a little bit of it here, but if you want more of a deeper dive, we are doing more webinars soon. So the first benefit of UVC light is its efficacy. Now, I'm going to be comparing UVC light to our most common solution for disinfection right now, which are chemical agents like your Lysols, like your Clorox bleaches. So UVC light destroys up to 99.99% of exposed airborne and surface level pathogens. Now, chemical agents actually cannot say the same thing. Even within a line of, for instance, Lysol wipes, you have to read those labels very carefully because some wipes will work for bacteria, but not viruses. Some may work on some viruses and not some others. So, really, you have to read those labels very carefully. UVC kills pathogens, including the coronavirus. It kills the bacteria that is found all over your facilities, including the bacteria that is grown resistant to antibiotics, which are called superbugs. UVC light works also on mold. So it really is potent, it's efficacious, it works on airborne pathogens as well, where something like chemical agents really only work at the surface level. UVC light is safe. Now, when used properly in a controlled system, UVC light will not leave any chemical residue or odor. It won't hurt anybody when it is used properly, when rooms are unoccupied. UVC light is workplace and facilities friendly. So, with an automated UVC light disinfection system, you can do a comprehensive daily, if not multiple times a day, disinfection, which is really impossible through your manual alternatives with those chemical agents. Because that, using those manual alternatives, it's time, it's effort, and it's labor, and it's putting your front line, your custodial staff, exposed to those dangerous chemical residues and odors. UVC light is also future proof. So we have been researching UVC light, especially in these days of coronavirus, and we have seen that research has shown UVC light does in fact render the coronavirus inactive. So it will protect against coronavirus. It also protects against future threats like your recurring seasonal flus, as well as, again, those antibiotic resistant superbugs. UVC light provides less waste all around. You've got a reduced need for those chemical cleaners that produce wasteful packaging and those disposable materials. And UVC light is affordable. Now, we estimate that at a minimum, you can operate your UVC disinfection system for 5 years prior to having to replace your bulbs, which are right now very affordable. So it makes UVC light disinfection a really smart investment for your facility. Let me tell you a little bit about our solution. Generations Brands works with Pure UVC disinfection systems, and it's really special because I will tell you why. It is a custom engineered, installed system within your facility. Now, here we're taking a sample room, which is a classroom, and we install through UVC, Pure UVC, we install multiple fixtures within a room. Our specialists will come in and assess your facility. We'll take measurements. We'll need to see the layout, the dimensions of each space. We need to know the ceiling height. We'll take photometric calculations within the room, figure out where furniture and other materials lay. And we customize the disinfection system within each space for maximum exposure to all surfaces. Um, we again operate multiple fixtures within each room for about 1 to 3 hours if we're looking at a typical classroom, which is between 800 and 1,000 square feet. We only operate the system when the room is unoccupied, and this is very, very important to know that we take safety very, very seriously with our UVC systems. So not only will we program the system to operate only when the room is unoccupied, according to your specific ideal needs and schedules, we also have multiple layers of redundancy. So we install local occupancy sensors within each space to deactivate the system if motion is detected. We also install manual override switches for added control. We custom program that system using an astronomical clock to match your facility's needs and ideal schedule for disinfection. We also offer monitoring services to ensure proper operation of the system. Again, we are fully engineered, and our specialist will come into your facility and do an audit to make sure that the system that we're creating for you is the most efficient. The fixtures are selected and the layout is designed, again, based on the specific needs of your facility. We offer a room by room layout and wiring diagram, and we provide that for your installation team if we're not the ones installing it for you. And we make sure that that installation is going to go as easy as possible for your team. Before the system even gets to your facility, we rigorously test it out at our own facility. We make sure that all the programming and all the technology is working as it should. Um, and again, we offer tech support. We offer a no questions asked warranty process. And even post project closure, we offer additional customer service and a service plan. Now, Pure UVC, again, starts with a good, solid foundation of design and engineering. and we offer the plans and wiring diagrams to make sure that we design the most efficient and affordable system for your facility. We take the safety redundancies seriously, and we've got smart sensors and manual overrides. We make the system very easy for you to control. We pre program the lighting controls. It allows you to operate the system at your own optimal schedule whenever the room is unoccupied. I'm going to draw your attention to this on the lower left, which is materials. Right now, there is a global shortage of UVC materials, and that is because Asia and Europe, they have been using UVC systems for years, for decades now. And right now, Europe is the biggest customer for these UVC materials. Fortunately, we have partnerships with these global suppliers. We have partnerships with companies like Ushio, who really are at the forefront of UVC technology. So through us, we do have access to all of those materials. Installation and training. We install, program, and commission your system. We also provide training and further educational support so that you feel empowered, having full operational capacity for your system. And again, we offer warranty and support. No questions asked warranty. We offer a monitoring subscription that gives you 24/7 live monitoring by Generations brands. And it also gives you free bulb replacements for that first year. Pricing. Everyone wants to know the pricing, and here it is. We are looking at an average room at about 1,000 square feet. Again, this is based on your rooms or your area's specifications, but we're looking at an average of 2,100 US dollars for the materials cost per room. And that includes two lights, one switch. But again, this is all based on your needs in the room. If you've got, for instance, food preparation specifics within that room, we would work with you on that. If it's a laboratory, for instance, or if it's a school classroom that has an abundance of desks, again, we work with you on that. And here are the different tiers. You've got the small buildings that start at $55,000 for about 40,000 square feet of space. Then you go on to the medium buildings, which are 125,000 for about 100,000 square feet. And then the large for 190,000 on average. And you've got 150,000 square feet to implement these systems for. So this really is our new normal. And I know right now, all over the country, everyone is figuring out how best to open up, how best to make your employees and your staff and your students feel good about coming into your buildings. Really, there's this obvious financial implication of closing down businesses, of unemployment, of being furloughed. But really, psychologists and social scientists have really long known that having a job is actually much more than just collecting a paycheck, right? For many people, work supplies that sense of identity. It has really positive benefits of being productive, right? Of feeling that productivity. You know, people who work also benefit from a structure of a daily routine. And of course, the benefit of team collaboration and social interaction is really is really the most valuable thing in my opinion. Um, Thank you so much for coming to our webinar today. We have an abundance of other webinars coming up, and actually, we have a newer webinar that I should put up there, which is the top 5 technology systems that your facility needs upon reopening. But take a look at our webinars coming up. We've got Truth About Chemical Disinfectants, which is on Friday, and then the Intro to UVC Lighting recurs every single Thursday. So if you go to our website at getpureuvc.com. You can find the whole webinar schedule there. Feel free to email us at any point if you're interested in learning more. If you'd like a budget estimate for a Pure UVC system, if you email us your building layout or an emergency egress plan, one of our specialists should be able to get back to you within about a week.